page. You can... Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. And we are here again with another video. So let's just get right into it because I'm about to get into lots of trouble because of this. So I know a lot of people have been asking me about how much research I've done on the men going their own way movement, and making certain distinctions about certain people who have been involved directly in the men going their own way movement and incel, red pill, yada yada yada. I just want to quickly comment on some of the comments that were being made. Thank you, by the way, for all of the comments that were given. I will not be getting into any specific person, place, or thing. Um, okay, maybe places, because I think that we want to stick to certain demographics, because certain geographies are very specific to the kind of content that I bring to the table. However, personalities and persons names may change over the years, but the rhetoric, if you're a historian that reads and tends to try to do some amount of research, you don't have to do that much, you will find that the rhetoric doesn't really change. The faces do, but the people don't. So let's get right into it. I really believe that my major concern, having worked with at-risk youth and at-risk boys between the ages of 14 and 25, one of the main things that I see happening is a real lack of accountability on the part of the parents. These are kids that are usually raised by grandma. They're usually raised by aunt. Yeah, I could actually remember one guy I was really trying to help save was being raised by his aunt, and she did what she could, but she had her own children. But anecdotally speaking, my personal, no, I wouldn't say anecdotally, because I've worked with hundreds of young men and women who are at-risk youth, and one of the things that I have seen a lot of is a lack of love and accountability on the part of the parents. And so when I hear men talking about going their own way as a way of life to fight against the matrix and fight against the powers that be, I really am quite disturbed, because I feel like that's a huge cop out in current terms of what a person's social responsibility is to whatever community they belong to. I don't really feel like this is something that was really thought through thoroughly in terms of what are the long-term ramifications of this being a movement, but I hope that it is not a movement that will gain too much traction, as it does not benefit younger men coming up, because of what I have seen as a professional in the social work arena. Everything else about the meaning of men going their own way and who belongs to it and who doesn't is really of very little interest to me, because my personal interest is the youth and how these kinds of movement affects their vulnerability and naivete. I think a better option would be for men who have been hurt by women, or men who have been oppressed by society, is to get their shit together and take some personal responsibility for the things that have not worked, and multiply and capitalize on the things that have. We live in one of the most safest times. As a historian, I can, give you many, many examples. And I'm not trying to be insensitive to some of the things that men are experiencing, because men as a whole are being marginalized more and more in today's society. I get that. I understand that. Unfortunately, not personally enough for me to empathize more than I can as a sister and as a mother and as a wife. But I will say that men are still men. I hope. I mean, I don't think that men going their own way is a really good example of what men should and are. I really believe that men holding their own responsibility, holding their own place in society, needs to be more emphasized. And we need to see more of that for the younger generation coming up. And I cannot speak directly as to what will work for men particularly, but I do feel like a woman's role in this movement needs to be supporting spaces for men to be men. And this I could not even fathom as of 10 years ago would even be something that would be considered a political, like a political statement. Like, this is actually political in people's eyes. Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. But with the youth group that I used to work with, shockingly enough, as much as we try to stay out of religious and political points of view, we provide spaces for men all over the world to be able to identify their interests, their skill sets, their what is my husband doing? Oh my God. Anyways, um he is there making a sign. Anyways, so their interest, their skill set, their interest in their skill set, and one of the more key components, which I think is missing in a lot of Western countries, is the social responsibility of every individual as it pertains to the community where they live. Simply put, volunteerism. In my country, this is a huge thing, and in a lot of countries where you see very successful, structured activities for young boys and girls, and since we're talking specifically about men right now, I'm going to emphasize boys taking place in their society, which mean taking their place in society, which means that they go out and they clean up the streets, or they participate in brother sister big brother groups. They're actively participating in they're helping older people, they're cleaning up some of their participating in beautification projects. We need to see more of that. Those kinds of structured activities actually help to integrate young people who are trying to figure out who they are as men and women in a society. Um, and this gives them a space and a forum in order and a structure to do it. And that's why I think men going their own way is basically a cop out, because those are the men that actually need to be mentoring, because it's a mentorship program that I used to work for. We actually had to find mentors and older adult people who have skill set, who have something can offer, and more importantly, who have an interest. Because, like I said in the beginning, this is an issue of love and neglect. And the more we neglect, walk away, go ghost, the harder the situation is going to be for us to be in, the harder and worse the problem is going to be in our communities in the future. And so, copping out and saying that I'm no longer going to participate in my community is not the way to go. I think active participation in your community and taking the bull by the horns is the manly, right thing to do. And the more we see that, the more changes we're going to see take place. Now, y'all could disagree. Y'all could come for me and make judgments, but I hope those of you who do come for me have actually mentored hundreds of young people where you are in your own community, so that you could tell me that that did not work. So if you can't, then you don't have nothing to say to me, because I have that in my background. So yeah, so we're basically not speaking the same language. And it has been very effective. I just recently took a trip back home to Belize, and 99%, bless blessings, man. 99% of the young people that I've mentored, 300, 99%, with the exception of one, yes, one, have turned their lives around and have made something of themselves, while small or big as it may have been. I have countless stories that have come to me in my trip. People were excited for me to come home so they could be showing me how much they changed their lives around. And it just warms my heart to know that all it took was for me as a person to be interested in what direction a young person's life goes. Particularly in this video, I will be speaking about young men. So the direction in which a young man's life goes. And that made a huge impact on them to know that somebody cares for them for the better. So I hope you guys enjoyed this content. I hope to see you again in the next one. And if you want to hear more about all of that story and how that went and how I got into that, you can tune into my next video. So of course, until then, like and subscribe. And if you can, please stay safe and stay free.